agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely. We do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't know when you're going to listen to this thing. It's around 6 o'clock now. This podcast, a little different, sort of in setting, but not so much in content. If you're new to the podcast, this is the I Am Liberty Show with James Walton, a podcast about freedom in the 21st century and liberty. We focus on 4 pillars of sort of lifestyle here on the I Am Liberty Show. And the first is strong communities. And you'll learn more about that the more you listen to the show. The second pillar is healthy Americans, right? So physical fitness, diet, exercise, that type of thing. That's a big one. We also talk about something very interesting called dynamic lifestyles. And a dynamic lifestyle is one where you're putting yourself in uncomfortable positions on a regular basis and doing interesting things, not getting stuck in a rut. Okay, I'm out here. I've got the Wise Company. You're probably familiar with Wise Food Storage. I've got the Wise Company 5-day survival kit on my back right now. And I just got done reviewing it for shtfpreparedness.com, one of my clients. And then I decided, you know what, let me just hike around with this thing on my back out here in the woods. We'll talk about it. I am a writer by training and by profession. I write about the end of the world and what to do in the event of such. And that's sort of been the way I describe my profession nowadays. I used to be a little more meek in the early days, and I used to say, I do most of my writing in the outdoors and emergency preparedness markets. But now I just say, yeah, I write about the end of the world. Because that's basically what I'm writing about most of the time on a regular basis. I just had a giant gnat fly into the eyeball. So dynamic lifestyles, again. Lots of hobbies. Lots of things to do. Always learning new things. Putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. And the final pillar is one that, well, it seems that it can never be fully built, and that's self-sufficiency, right? And I want to say something about self-sufficiency at the start of the show, because I have noticed a little snobbish behavior from some of the listeners of the I Am Liberty Show in regards to self-sufficiency and self-reliance. You know, about sort of what does it mean to be self-sufficient, and is there a gauge, or is there, you know, this person is or this person isn't, or some people say they are when they're not really. It's a levels thing, man. It's like anything else in life, right? It's a levels thing and it's a layers thing. So I really get a little annoyed when I hear one person or a handful of people talking about who's more self-sufficient, what self-sufficiency is. The idea behind this show is, let's give it thought. Let's give it thought, and let's take well thought out and planned actions to increase it in our daily life. That's all. It's not a contest. But those are the 4 pillars of the I Am Liberty Show. Brief intro for any new listeners out there. For everyone else, thanks so much for everything. What can I tell you? You guys are the reason this show exists. You guys are the reason my writing career exists, and I have the client base that I have. You know, because of what I've learned doing this show over the years. What I want to talk about today, among other things, is National Preparedness Month is upon us. September. September's National Preparedness Month, and we're going to theme this month on the I Am Liberty Show all about National Preparedness Month. because I believe in it. And I know it's very popular to say that the government is corrupt and the government is this and everything, and the New World Order and all those keynotes and all those little phrases and all those hashtags that exist. But I'm going to tell you something about National Preparedness Month. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. You look it over. Go to ready.gov/September. Ready.gov/September and check it out. And you'll see. You'll see it and you'll say to yourself, you know what, this is a good thing. Why not get behind it? If the show's about self-sufficiency, about preparedness and the like, why not get behind it? And I'm behind it, right? So it's the way that they've broken it down over at ready.gov is there's 4 weeks that break up the month. And this idea of themed shows is something that's going to take over on the I Am Liberty show as well. Because I'm in the process of developing an annual preparedness master schedule. Not just for you. Not just for you, but for me. Because it's a professional tool that I used to use when I was in the food industry, the food safety business in particular. And the master schedule is very, very useful. Okay, in terms of home maintenance, in terms of prepping, in terms of inventory, in terms of, garden care, and what you should be focusing on and when throughout the year. So these themed months, starting with National Preparedness Month here, it's going to be the way that the I Am Liberty show goes for the next few years, and it's going to be a little more focused on these topics. We're still going to talk. You come here because I talk. You don't come here because I read bullet points, right? You come here because, like right now, I'm walking through the woods thinking, talking, with a 5-day survival kit on my back. The 5-day survival kit is here because, I had to review it for a client, and it's nice. It's a nice little bag. I dig it. But that said, week 1, National Preparedness Month, September. Week 1 is to make and practice a plan. Now, for some of you out there, that may sound like, child's play or whatever. Like, duh, like who doesn't have a plan? But I go to prepper events and prepper shows pretty often. And I talk to people. And the hard question that you have to ask people is, do you have a plan and is it written? And that'll give you a gauge for how prepared a person really is. Because I mentioned this on my Wednesday live show over at prepperbroadcasting.com. What you need to understand about not having a written plan is you put the rest of your family at risk. There is most certainly a bit of pomposity, right? Or a bit of ego involved when you start learning how to do some of the things that you learn how to do in survival and prepping and the like. And you start to think a little more of yourself than you should. That's always dangerous. You let the ego get out of hand, that's always dangerous. And the reason that happens is, again, because you learn to do some pretty impressive things. You learn to survive on your own. You learn to make water potable. You learn to make fire from sticks. It's cool. I'm invincible, right? But no. And if you don't have a written plan, something happens to you early on, and your family's not as trained or as well trained as you, then you might as well not have done anything. You might as well not have done any of it. Right? So the written plan is paramount. If you're interested in learning about a binder, if you're interested about learning how to put together an emergency preparedness binder with your plan inside, sort of like building a business plan except with disaster preparedness in mind, let me know. Let me know. If you would pay for something like that, or if you want something like that for free, let me know. Because I do have a binder like that at home, and it's filled with things that are very benign, like where to go if we have a tornado, or what to do if we have a fire. And it's also filled with things that are terrifying, like how to set up a quarantine in the home in the event that we have some sort of pandemic. Now, this is important. Making a plan and practicing a plan is a no-brainer, and a lot of people look at you funny when you say it, and a lot of people are probably turning this show off right now because they're like, I don't want to listen to this. But if you're honest with yourself, then you might find that you do need to make a plan. And when I say make a plan, I don't mean formulate something in your head. I mean you have to write something. You have to write it down, print it out, organize it. Make it easy to understand, show your family. Tell them where the binder is. It's very much like OSHA. If you approach it the way you would, say you worked safety at a job and you were writing an emergency response plan for the workforce there, OSHA requires you to have an emergency response plan. They require that your staff know where it is, and they require that they know what's in it and have been trained on it. And they also require that you drill the things in it. Now, why do you think that is? And why would you not do it with your own home and your own family? It's a very interesting thing when you sit down and think about it, right? Why wouldn't I do that? But that's the first week in National Preparedness Month. We're going to follow this thing week to week. And what am I giving away? Oh, I'm giving away this thing on my back. That's what it is. We are doing a giveaway with it. And this one in particular is for this 5-day survival kit. This WISE food storage 5-day survival kit with water and food, amongst other things. That's on my back right now. And all you have to do is share my tweet or share my post on Facebook about National Preparedness Month. That's all. Go to my social media at I Am Liberty Show on Twitter, facebook.com/I Am Liberty Show. I put a post out today that said it was kind of all about, go ahead my man, sorry. That was all about September and National Preparedness Month. Very popular bike trails that I'm on. Bike trails. Not a big fan of the bikers, but bike trails are great to run if you want a real workout. That's not nice. That's not nice. It's good to see people getting fit no matter what they're doing. I'm trying to be a little more Buddha lately, you know what I mean? Less vitriol. But I find that the vitriol really makes you feel good, and I think that taking out the vitriol on others or on other things has a longevity effect in your life cycle. I think that getting that anger out is important, man. And you don't want to take it out on the kids, and you don't want to take it out on the wife. So sometimes you got to take it out on the bikers, and sometimes you got to take it out on the heavy bag. But anyhow, go find the post. Came out today. Again, it's National Preparedness Month, September. It's a big deal. All right, if you want to get involved in it, feel free. How you doing? Hey, pup. Little Shiba Inu or something like that. Anyway, just walking on the trails around the house. Nothing big, nothing exciting. Stuff like this though, man, that changes the game for you when you... I got absolutely blasted at the gym yesterday working out with my lady. Working out with Lady Liberty. I was mentioning this on social media. I might have mentioned it on a show in the past, but the wife and I, man, we're struggling to find time together. Life is getting busier and busier. Kids are growing up. You know what I mean? It's the fact of life. And the thing that sets people apart from people who struggle and people who fail is thought and action. That's it. You know, so in other words, my wife and I, like many wives and husbands across the nation, recognize the fact they don't have enough time for each other anymore. When they reach a certain point in their relationship or their marriage with kids and with jobs and everything. You know, here I am at 6 at night. I'm out here in the woods talking about a backpack with dried food in it. It's just part of the deal. You know, it's one of the only things that I do in the evening. I don't do this for many other clients, but it's one of the only things I do in the evening. And I try to do it on a weekly basis because they're a great client. They're a great website, shtfpreparedness.com. And, hey, they treat me good, man. They let me live a lifestyle that is hard to believe. to be honest. But anyway, all these things add up. They add up as time away from one another. And there's a limit to that, man. Don't think that you're immune to that. If you're out there listening and you're a husband or you're a wife, if you're a spouse in general, trust me. There's a limit to how much time you can spend apart before you sit down and you have this conversation. This is the conversation you don't want to have. Okay, and I fear this one. And I've heard other men, friends of mine, who have been hit with this one. I just feel like I'm living with my brother. And that's the end. That's how the marriage ends. That's how the love dies, right? Complacency, and I don't have time, and you don't have time, and you're so busy, and I'm so busy. So anyway, the difference is thinking about the problem, even though it hurts, and taking action, right? And that's what sort of Lady Liberty and I have been doing. Thinking about the problem and taking action. And one of the ways that we've been taking action is we go to a great gym. We work out separately almost all the time. For no reason, really. Sometimes she has a buddy come with her. I'm a very solitary person. I like to suffer in silence by myself. Go deep into a podcast and listen and learn while I work out. So what we've decided to do is decided to jump into one of these classes and work out together. And we're not sitting down and having meaningful conversation. We don't even hardly look at each other that much while we're in the class. But we have a goal. We have a common goal now. We have something we could talk about. It's a little thing. It's a part of a much bigger plan. But it's the reason I bring it up is because it's a little piece that might fit your relationship perfectly. You know, it might be a little piece. And plus, the workouts are great. We went to a few different classes together. It was another fun part of the whole thing, right? We said, let's try all the classes. Let's go try all the classes out and figure out. First of all, figure out, is there something that's going to challenge us both? Because we go to the gym a lot. You know what I mean? We've got a good gas tank on both of us, and we're both strong people. And our body has requirements, and we go to the gym, and we're there to meet requirements. We want to walk out of there feeling less likely to commit murder. Did you follow me? So, we went through a few different classes. Some of them were not for us. You know, we did one class that was called Fight, and it was kind of like a dance/fighting class. And it was torture for me. It was an hour of torture for me. Because I'm trying to get in the proper stance. You know, I studied Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, well, in a gym for about a year, both of them. But outside of the gym, I've been hitting the heavy bag for probably 6-7 years now. And it's watching fights all the time, practicing techniques. I've listed some great resources if you're interested in doing something like that and you don't want to get involved in a gym. Listen, you're never going to get as good as you can when you're sparring and hitting pads with a person who's moving. But you can definitely learn how to throw hands on a heavy bag, and legs and knees and elbows. But this class was driving me insane. I was just out of place. You know, it wasn't good fighting technique, so it was hard for me. But we found this class, this power class, and we've been knocking it out, man, and it's been good. And I tell you guys because what are we supposed to talk about on the I Am Liberty show, right? We're supposed to get out here and talk about the United Emirates flight that flew in with the pandemic on board. I don't know if you heard about that one. That was a nightmarish situation. I was holding my breath the whole day. RT News reporting that a plane from Dubai lands in LA and everyone on it's sick. Flu-like symptoms. You know, I'm automatically thinking, here we go. And this is how the outbreak begins, right? We can talk about things like that. I can get your adrenaline pumping. I can get you nervous about a pandemic and what it might be like to watch one of your loved ones die in a bathroom in quarantine in your own house. But I don't want to pluck those strings right now because I'm pretty calm. And I'm just careening around in the woods, you know, looking at trees. I've been reading a field guide. I've been reading 2 books. One is called Reading Jesus. And Reading Jesus is an amazing book about a writer and a sort of lapsed Catholic who goes back and reads the gospel, but reads it as a story and reads it as a writer and reinterprets it. You know, and really interprets the words the way a writer would. And for me, it's about the most perfect way to look at the Gospels for me, because I've got to really look at them objectively. I told you I've been doing more soul searching lately than I have in a long time. And I don't know if it's this Christmas book I'm writing, constantly thinking about the birth of Jesus and the significance and that type of thing, that part of the Christmas holiday. It could have something to do with it. I don't know. Age, children, marriage, you never know. But I've also been looking at the field guide for North American trees. And there's only so many people listening to this show who are going to go like, yes, I want to sit down with the Audubon field guide for North American trees or Northeastern trees. They're not really Northeastern, actually. It is like North American. And that's how I learn. You know, I bring that guide out into these woods and I look at trees, or I look at trees while I'm out here and I take leaves home, and then you research the trees and you find out what the trees can do for you. Because I'm moving away from this idea of foraging wild edibles for most things in a wilderness survival situation, and really bearing down on the idea of processing trees and tree parts and using that as a resource that just is so much, it's exponentially greater, right? I look around right now, I look around and see a bunch of oaks and hickories. I'm talking, in my line of sight right now, I might be looking at nearly 100 trees, maybe more, right? In my line of sight right now, nearly 100 trees. The vast majority of them can do more than one thing for me in a survival situation. Then I look to the ground. Sassafras, which is a tree. This is a little baby sassafras, which I love. My wife always gets on me about the sassafras. I don't know, I think she hates when I say the word. But I'm looking, here I am, I'm walking and looking again. In my field of vision, at least 100 trees. Varying types, lots of hickory, lots of oak. I think I see a willow down by where the pond used to be. Here's a sweet gum right here. But at least 100 trees. I look at the undergrowth and I've yet to find something that's going to help me out. A lot of saplings. Here's some wild grass. What? This is what I'm getting at. There's some garlic mustard. Okay. I'm surprised that stuff's even out still, but there's some garlic mustard right there. Looks pretty good. How you doing, folks?
Hey. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. And you know, I don't know how far you're gonna get with garlic mustard, to be honest with you. I mean, it's delicious in the spring. It's, if you really like a bitey green, it's good stuff. But again, it's that exponential difference between the undergrowth and the trees, and the difference in the resource. Not to mention that most of the things you're looking at in the undergrowth are temporary, right? So they're going to be gone in another 3 months, 4 months, something like that. And that's the end. So no matter how well you know the plant, it's going to die in the winter. But these 100 or so trees that are in my field of vision right now will still be around. They'll still be around, and they'll still be highly effective. More bikers. The bikers are coming out. I have to leave. I have to go away. My beautiful, quiet, and relaxing path has become like it's like a highway now. It's like a highway now. You know, put the stoplight up. But I mean, it's good. I can't be too aggravated about it, because There's a reason the city keeps this place up, and it has a lot to do with that recreation that bikers provide. So that's my theory out here, folks, if you're interested, right? Dave Canterbury calls them a four-season resource, these trees. And again, when you just look at the mass, you look at the mass of this oak that I'm walking past right now. It's huge. It's a giant tree. It's a massive resource, you know. You learn to live by the trees. It's a lot better than learning to live by the weeds. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some incredible weeds in these woods and around that I really wouldn't want to live without. One of them is the common plantain. You know, that thing is everywhere and it's great. The other thing is the common dandelion. I mean, dandelion leaves, you get them at the right age, are awesome. The roots of the dandelion, I don't know if you know this, but they can be roasted and pulverized and brewed into like a coffee substitute. No caffeine in it whatsoever. But, you know, a good reason to drink a warm beverage, maybe in a colder time. So I've been playing with these trees. I've been really trying to dig into these trees. You know, I'm not where I want to be yet, don't get me wrong. I am not where I want to be yet when it comes to proficiency, with identification. It's not, for me, it's not just about identification, it's about identification and then understanding the many uses, right? Like the idea that the black walnut is what? What comes to mind when you think black walnut? Food. Duh, right? Get those terrible husks off the nut, and then we can use that as food. They have to sit in the sun. But anyway, the husks are actually incredible. The husks do all sorts of things. You can steep the husks and create pest control, bug spray, something that'll keep bugs away, something that'll help deal sort of an antiviral dose, maybe to skin issues and that type of thing. These are important things to know, you know. The oak tree may be one of the most useful of all trees. I mean, God, you can do so much with oak. It really has changed my whole theory on how I look at wild edibles and foraging. I'm never going to give up on a resource. I'm not going to walk by, you know, a bramble thicket and say, in the summer, and say, you know, I don't want any of those blackberries. I just want to chew on hickory nuts tonight. But what I'm not going to do, in that same line of thinking, is I'm not going to walk by a pile of chestnuts or hickory nuts or something to that effect that can be roasted and eaten, even acorns that can be processed a little and then eaten, and walk past them the way that I have for all these years, and the way that you have. You know you have. You know, on your way to find the wild ramps and the hen of the woods mushrooms, right? The morels, whatever it is you're after. You've walked by how many trees and given them no thought whatsoever about food, about health care, whatever it is that they can provide, first aid. So that's a big change in my philosophy as of late. And I think I'm going to end it there, folks. I think I'm going to end it there. I'm back to civilization. I don't want too many. I'm hands-free right now. I'm using a clip-on mic to record this podcast. I've invested finally in a pop filter. My father-in-law told me I was popping in too much on the podcast. And you know what? I'm really glad he did. And I'm really sad that no one else told me. Because then it started to stand out real bad. So then I got a little bit of an upgrade on equipment because of that. Because that's what you got to do, right? If you're going to isolate a problem, you got to fix it. If you isolate it and just look at it and get mad at it, you'll start hanging out with Antifa. That'll be the end of you. I'm out of here, guys. Listen, National Preparedness Month is September. I wrote a book that's part of an informational product called Critical 21. If you want to make the most of National Preparedness Month, check out Critical 21 on my website. All right, it was written by me. Again, it's a great resource. It basically breaks down 21 days and how you can jump in the driver's seat of your preparedness plan. All right, if you buy it, another guy's going to get a lot of money, but I'm going to get a little money off of it. So if you want to support the show and support me and get something that I wrote, good information, 21-day plan to get yourself ready for anything, check out Critical 21. It's on my website on the main page. Scroll down. I'll be talking about it a lot this month. It's going to be a product that I'm pushing. If you're interested in sponsorship with the I Am Liberty Show, I want you to contact me as well. You can do that through the website, or you can get me at iamlibertyshow@gmail.com. If you've got a product or service in the prepping niche, in the outdoors market, something along those lines, my sponsorship comes with a lot of special things, not just me talking on the show about you, okay? I've got a lot of connections in this market, and I want to get your product on as many of those websites that I work for that I can. All right, so I'm going to use my writing abilities and my marketing abilities as well as my podcast if you become a sponsor of the I Am Liberty Show. And I'll tell you right now, it's the best sponsorship package and the most unique that you're going to come across. Period. Highly customizable and something that's going to work. All right. And the reason it's that way, I want you guys to understand this. When I first started doing this show, I was just looking for sponsors and taking their money. And I did it to a few people, and they didn't get any return on investment, and I felt like dog shit. So this is how I can be my best for you, by combining services and creating something that's going to work. Something that's going to give you an ROI, okay? So if you're into that, shoot me a line. I'll talk to you soon, folks. It's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show.